ثابت که در جریان سیت انتخابات استرالیا است. امروز روز آخر بودن دیگه اینا شماری شاره است دیگه سیلکن کینی طرفی راست طرف شتاینی طرف نماینده لیبر است باز اینیم کسی باساچ کسی دیگه در این طرف این کسی لیبرال رو نشتن که با هم است این طرف نماینده دوشته اینجی سیلکن که اینا یک میز میشه با هم صحبت منه دیگه در قصهش نیست که چقدر کی بایی بده و کی مبره ولی فقط حقایق کسی قبول داره دیگه جالم نداره راحت کنش یک کنار دیگه صحبت منه منتظر نتایج هستم که واقعا طرفدار حزب لیبر هستم و حزب گرین حزب لیبر کسی برای انتخابات خواهد شد
which is pretty extraordinary when you think that these are two seats which
در نتیجه می‌بینیم 25 در مقابل 13 است. ALP کسی با رنگ سرخ لیبر است. 25 سیت گرفته مثلا البته فعلا بعضی جایی که حساب میشه کلی جاها شامل نمیشه دیگه سیدنم که در مقابل حزب لیبرال خیلی ضعیف است این دفعه برعکس وقتهای دیگه که در این کسی میتونه انتخابات قبلی کسی با هم بسیار شانه به شانه بالا رفت ولی این دفعه خیلی با نتیجه کمزور آغاز ده امیدوارم حزب لیبر کسی برای انتخابات شد
to watch all that flow through, but it's tough for a Lib to win almost anywhere on 35%.
I think the issue with Deakin is the Greens have run an open ticket in those seats today in both Deakin and Menzies, which is sort of counter to their claims they're, trying to fight Peter Dutton and keep Peter Dutton out of government to then on those seats which are, both, to not
بیشتر جای کسی لیبر کسی برنده بوده
say one thing to another.
52.9
and then it's probably not what we've been talking about, what was anticipated to happen in Victoria, that state politics on the nose and that on a federal level you pay the price for that. It doesn't seem to be
لیبر انشالله برای مهاجرین اندونزی
Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to jump in on you. I think we always believed that people would switch on to the federal campaign, and I think we've seen that through the campaign. Having a long-term Victorian government kind of matters at the state level, but certainly what we're seeing here is a pretty strong result in Victoria.
What I was hearing at the start of the year, Katie, is that Labor was expecting a 6 to 7% swing down in Victoria, but that after the Werribee by-election it seemed to wash out some of that anxiety about the Allen government, and they focused more on the Dutton v Albo contest.
Yeah, I think that's right. Once the campaign proper started, and the federal campaign overtakes and becomes the political discussion, we saw people in Victoria consider the choice, and we're seeing some of those early results today coming through. Again, I don't know how many times we say it on this panel, and there will be a time when we can't say it's too close and too soon, but certainly still that. I mean, I just think that issue in Deakin and Menzies, the preference flow to Labor could be critical in those seats.
All right. Tony Burke is standing by for us in the seat of Watson. Can we put those numbers up as we go to Tony? Tony Burke, good evening from the 9 News election headquarters. How are you tracking in your seat of Watson? Of course, you had the Muslim votes matter, and have they had an impact as we have a look at the numbers now on the screen?
Oh, look, there's certainly an impact, and I mean, what I noticed today, the mood on the booth evidence today was stronger for me than what we've had on pre-poll. So I think when some of the pre-poll figures come in a bit later in the night, I think the figures that I've got at the moment will probably move backwards a bit. The other thing that I notice is it depends which end of the electorate. So we've just had a significant redistribution in the areas where I've been representing them and they've known me for more than 20 years. The result there, it's been borne out, but the feeling on the ground as well was much stronger. And I think as some of the booths come in the new areas that I haven't represented before, some of those results will pull back. So it's still pretty early. I'm very hopeful, and it's been the honour of my life to represent the area where I've always lived. And so I'm very hopeful to be able to continue the work. And the first signs are good, but there's a bit more to come.
لیبر بیشتر جای خیلی خوشحال است.
49.4% of the primary vote. Don't tell us the party has not already started where you are.
نتایج سیرچ است که گرفته.
It's as I say, I don't believe that number's going to survive the night. I really don't.
باید هر حزبی که 76 کرسی رو بگیره دیگه بدون قید شرط کسی رئیس جمهوری کشور استرالیا هست.
Chris Bowen and Katie Gallagher. What do you want to say to Tony, and what's your interpretation of what you say?
28 کرسی کلان که لیبر گرفته.
That's true. Well, Berkey, you've run a magnificent campaign. From where I'm sitting, you're looking pretty good. You're right to be cautious, but as you said, you've lived and worked in that area your entire life. And I think people remember that on days like this when you've got a campaign and you've been up and down the pre-poll line.